I'm with I-Wei Huang, character designer on Skylanders Spyro's Adventures, and just tell us how that role plays out in the game, in the creation of the game.
Yeah. So my job is to kind of come up with these characters. So it all starts out with just drawing, right? You sit there and draw out what you think a really cool character could be. I work very closely with Paul, the CEO of Toy Story Bob, on the character designs. So sometimes he comes to me and say, I have this great idea of a character that kind of looks like this and has this kind of ability. Other times I go and just start drawing characters I think will be really cool, and then we work around that with the kind of the game design around that. So that's what I do. Most of my work is involved in that side of it, but I also model the characters for the game, and also involved in the toy production process as well.
How does having that it also exists as a toy change how the game feels?
Yeah, so on the toy side, we want to make sure that the toys are very chunky. They have a certain mass to them. We didn't want a little toy that feels light and feels like you don't break it kind of thing. So because of that, we want to make sure we have this kind of feel that is very massive. So characters have a lot of big hands and big features and stuff like that. And because of that, we have to make that work in the game as well. And luckily, that lends itself equally well in the game, because we didn't want spindly characters that's really difficult to read. Like, where's the arm? Does he have 3 arms, or like you can't tell what's going on? So because of that kind of worked all together. So the toy kind of defines the game, and the game kind of defines the toy as well.
Mm-hmm. So there's a sort of a back and forth between the design and the development of the physical toy that you buy, but that also interacts with the game, and how the game plays.
Well, the game, we make sure we have some really strong abilities for the game. So we want to make sure that experience is really, really fun. Because if that's not fun, we failed. Period. At the same time, the toy has to be really good quality. Because if you don't buy the toy, you don't like that character, or you don't like it feels cheap, or whatever the reason is. If you don't buy the toy, you don't get to play the game. So those both has to work perfectly, and we work very hard to try to find the right balance between the two. It has to satisfy both.
And were there limits on what you would and wouldn't do in the toy? Were there some things that you ruled out, that our toys won't include this or that?
The only thing that I think we ruled out are more, it's pretty easy to go too scary of a character, or too sci-fi, not fantasy enough, or like too outside of our character, the rest of the character, how they look and feel. So if that's the case, then we kind of back off. But as far as the toy itself, there's no limit. We've designed characters on paper that we really like, but we have no idea how to make that as a toy, or make it in the game and have it work well in the game, because there's just we don't know how to do it. But we really like the character, and we just work really hard to make that, realize that. We use a lot of different creative problem solving skills to make that happen, so the toy looks great, even though when you first look at it on paper, you just don't think it's going to work. And same thing on the toy side. So we don't rule out because we can't think about how to solve the problem. We only rule out if it doesn't fit in the world.
Yeah, so something about these toys is that they sort of exist in groups. So you have different elements, and each of the different characters that exist as a toy lives in one of those groupings. How did you decide on those groups, and how did you get one of those characters to sort of fit within the family?
The groups, I mean, that comes from design mostly, and it's the elements are designed so there's opposing forces, right? There's a reason why they're opposing. So, for example, water and fire element are opposite each other. So, if you're in the for gameplay reasons, if you're in the fire-ish world, you're water guy could put out fire, right? And so there's obvious reasons for that. So there's 8 elements. So there's 4 on each side and 4 on their opposing. You know, and that's mostly for gameplay reasons. And it's also very clear, like when you have water and fire. You know, it's just we know we want those elements. So I don't decide what the elements are. I just try to make it fit. You know, so sometimes there'll be a character that's that we need in a certain element, and I have to somehow make that work. It just isn't a natural fit.
Yeah. And part of your wanting to engage sort of a broad range of characters, you were saying earlier, how that you wanted to include both male and female monsters. But I appreciated the fact that the girls weren't just pink.
Oh, no.
So how did you sort of build up a sort of visual language for, you know, what to gender these features were?
Yeah, so it's difficult in that it was expressed to us that you can't sell a girl character to boys, and that's really frustrating for us to hear, because you know, our argument would be that you just didn't give them a good female character for boys to want to buy, right? So for art designing the characters, we want to make sure all characters, regardless of female or male, are strong, like hero characters. You know, even the cute ones, or even the ones that look, you know, pretty capable and mean, all across the board, they have to feel like they're strong. You know, so we have female characters that are clearly female, but there's something about them that's tough. You know, they're not a girly character that isn't going to be able to do anything in any kind of battle. Like, they all look like there's some magic to them that they can do a lot. You know, so we want to make sure that it's all the female characters are incredibly strong and feel like that. You know, they don't have to be buff and big or anything like that, but they have to look like they can kick some serious something.
Yeah, that's great. Cool. Well, thanks for your time, and look forward to playing it for real.
Thanks.
Great.